1, 2. It's time for live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on your YouTube machine. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Answer your questions about whatever you want to talk about on the Psychetruth. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to my weekly live chat. In case you don't know me, my name is Corrina Rachel and I am a certified holistic health coach. Gotta love that little Jimi Hendrix chord there. All right, so thank you so much for coming. Welcome to my live chat. I almost want to just keep playing this chord through the whole live chat. I don't know if that would be distracting. All right, so thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you who are here holding down the fort, getting us started in this week's live chat. So I have made hundreds of informational videos on this channel, Psychetruth, about nutrition, weight loss. We have tons of yoga, fitness, all kinds of different topics underneath that big, wonderful umbrella of wellness. So this is your opportunity to ask your questions, really general questions. I will probably direct you to one of my many videos. So looking for things a little bit more specific, or maybe something that's just relevant to you personally or something you're experiencing. So a couple of housekeeping type of elements. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you, YouTube, and no thank you, YouTube. Really quickly, guys, if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in the world of YouTube, recently there were a whole slew of advertisers that pulled their funding away from YouTube. So this is really big companies like Verizon and McDonald's and Johnson & Johnson, really big advertisers. And unfortunately, we, the YouTube creators, are feeling those effects. And we're feeling them really badly, unfortunately. And I know we are not the only channel that is experiencing that. So others of you who are also YouTubers would love to know if this is something you're experiencing too. Anyways, guys, we want to let you know that we are now publishing videos on Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, there are literally hundreds of videos that we have put up on Amazon that will be free for you to view without any advertisements, which I know all of you hate, okay? So literally we have more videos up on Amazon than we do on Psychetruth of our more recent content. So if you go to Amazon right now and put in Psychetruth, you will find tons and tons of videos that are not on the YouTube channel. They will be going up on the YouTube channel over the next couple of months, but you could watch them now without advertisements on Amazon. So I just wanted to let you know that and ask you to pretty please go check out our Amazon videos. And if you want to leave us a kind, loving, appreciative review, that would be super helpful because we are feeling it. In a negative way. Along the same lines, guys, if you want to leave a tip in this live chat, I would so greatly appreciate it, and I will reward your tips by answering your question, letting your question move up to the top. So I've already got a lot of questions in here. I'm going to go ahead and get started, but please check us out on Amazon. Please consider leaving a tip here. I've been doing this live chat for years. And this live chat does not help our channel to survive. It's really just something I get to do because I love it so much. So help me keep Psychetruth viable, keep Psychetruth alive. Somebody's asking, what's an ectopic thyroid? That's just when you have thyroid glands, thyroid tissue, somewhere other than where the thyroid gland is usually located. There's a lot of different potential issues that can cause that. It can also just be something that you're born with. So that's a really kind of hard question to answer. You can look up what's an ectopic thyroid just as easy as I can, but without knowing a little bit more details about what you're experiencing or what your doctor told you, what kind of symptoms you're experiencing, I can't really offer you a whole lot of advice on what to do for something like that. Okie dokie. Sorry that I started the live chat without the microphone. It was not on. I apologize. Thank you for letting me know. Look at all these comments about how there's no audio. Thank God she can sing. Thank you, Virtual Reality Belgium. Are you channeling Mr. Rogers? No. Okie dokie. All right, so here is a question, Ruben Estrada. And just by the way, guys, if you put some question marks at the beginning of your question, it's going to make it easier for me to see amidst all of the comments and stuff, which I love for y'all to be commenting with each other. But just know when you want me to see your question, put some question marks at the beginning or leave it with a tip. And then YouTube puts it straight to the top of my feed. All right, so Ruben Estrada says, what foods are good for eczema? All right, so I actually did an entire video on eczema, I believe maybe a year or two ago. But if you put in eczema on our channel, you can find a video that goes into much more detail. Essentially, what we're looking at with conditions like eczema is inflammation. Inflammation is an immune system response. It's what happens every time you get a scrape or a cut or a bug bite, and there's just kind of redness and swelling. Basically, this is your body's way of saying, hey, we got to send some red blood cells into this area where there's been damage or there's been, some kind of, it's usually trying to repair damage. Okay, but inflammation is also something that, while it's very important in helping our body heal, if we have too much inflammation, this can be very, very harmful for us. So we can consider that there are lots of things in our lifestyle and diet that actually contribute to more inflammation. So this is a really good question. And this would really apply to any kind of inflammatory condition. So anything that ends with itis, arthritis, colitis, those are all inflammatory conditions. Eczema usually stems from inflammation as well, except now we're talking about inflammation that results in actually a visual or visible problem on the skin. So reducing sugar. You probably are not surprised to hear me say that, but sugar is one of the really, really big causes of inflammation. So if you can reduce your sugar intake, that also means reducing your refined carbohydrates intake. So all the white flour, white bread, that is also very inflammatory. Just processed foods in general, okay, are going to generally contribute to inflammation. And then your anti-inflammatory foods are just your natural foods in their minimally processed state. So all your fruits and vegetables, especially we could talk about leafy greens like spinach and kale. Those are really wonderful nutrient powerhouses that are very strongly anti-inflammatory. So they're going to be able to not only not cause inflammation, but those nutrients can actually go in and neutralize inflammation that's already occurring. You also want to think about what you're using topically on your skin. A lot of us are, unfortunately kind of barraging our bodies with toxins through our skin creams, lotions, through our soaps, through our deodorants. If we are talking about females, then we could talk about makeup, skin creams, all kinds of different stuff like that. So opting for things, again, in their most natural, least processed state. One of my favorite things for my skin is coconut oil, and I literally use the same coconut oil that I use to cook. If you end up using a lot of coconut oil on your skin, you may find that it's more cost effective to buy one of those big plastic tubs of coconut oil. I don't typically like to eat that coconut oil. I always opt for like the organic one in a glass jar for the coconut oil that I eat. But if you're going to be using coconut oil as the primary thing on your skin, maybe just get a big tub of it. Really, really wonderful, super natural thing for your skin. There's also a company called, it's called Made On, but the website is hardlotion.com. And she literally, I think I even have one in my bag, but I don't want to take too long on this. It just comes in a bar. It looks like a bar of soap, but then when you apply it to your skin, it starts to melt and you get this really wonderful, super hydrating effect. And there's no water in it. It's not watered down. So hardlotion.com is definitely my recommendation if you're looking for something to help you with eczema. And again, check out my video that is all about eczema if you would like more information. Nita Vlogs, Corrina, is it safe to go for 28 days without food and only having water? I started, but I couldn't go on. I would say no. Now, there are certain people out there, guys, that get really into fasting. And there are people who go for really long periods of time completely fasting. So literally not eating anything other than water. But let me say this. One, for the average person, even going 10 hours without eating is probably going to be really difficult. The most I've ever gone without eating any food is probably like 16 days. That was when I did the master cleanse. So I did 3 days easing in on smoothies and juices and 3 days easing out, which technically is food. So maybe I just did 10 days without eating any actual food. But the cool thing about master cleanse is that you still get a lot of minerals and other nutrients from the maple syrup and cayenne pepper and lemon that you take during that cleanse. But I still think that is kind of too much of a shock. Too much of a shock to the system. So I actually talked about fasting and intermittent fasting in a video that I filmed yesterday. So that'll be coming out soon. Bottom line, guys, is don't shock your system. Something like going 28 days of fasting, that is a shock to your system. All right? So even though there are people out there who may be able to ease up to a point where they can fast for that long, we're talking about probably a very small percentage of the population who would actually be able to fast for that long and still be healthy. So don't shock your system. I would imagine you're doing a big long fast like that to try and lose weight, but just know that any weight that you do lose during that fast, you're gonna gain back twofold when you start eating again. And eventually you are going to become so famished that you have to eat. Intermittent fasting can be an effective way to help you lose weight, and I talked about this in my video, but fasting for several days at a time, especially for several weeks at a time, I would say is just way too much. Once you have been fasting, doing like maybe 3-day or 5-day fasts for do that several times, maybe you can build your way up to fasting for longer periods. But even still, I think that is far too long to go without eating. There was one other thing I was gonna say. Juicing, or what should I say? Juice fasts is really my recommended way to go. If you are gonna fast from eating solid food, drink green juices while you do it. Because then you're at least still getting a lot of nutrient intake, even though you're not eating solid food. So your digestive system still gets a break because it's not having to digest fiber and solid foods, but it's at least still getting some kind of nutrient input so that you aren't at like zero level of nutrients coming in. Vera Zelezniak. Vera Zelezniak, I hope I said your name right. What are your thoughts on hemp protein? Hemp protein is awesome. Hemp is definitely a wonderful source of protein. You can take it in the hemp seeds. You can also buy hemp protein powder, but my recommendation would be to actually have either the hemp seeds, or I believe they're also called hemp hearts. So just taking the minimally processed form of hemp as opposed to a hemp protein powder, right? So anything that comes in a powdered form, that's a processed food. All right, there are some decent protein powders out there, but as a general rule of thumb, always the whole food itself, the minimally processed food is always going to be the best bet. But adding in hemp seeds to smoothies and breakfast and on top of your salad, such a wonderful way to add in a really good source of protein, a really easy way to add that into your diet. All right, Kiki losing it. It's not really a question, but it says diet and depression. Such a wonderful topic. Again, this is something that we've done several videos about. So your diet, your lifestyle has a huge, huge effect on what we could call our mental health, our energy levels, our motivation, our positivity. So much of what feels like it's just in our heads, right? Those feelings like anxiety or depression or insomnia, those are physical conditions. So they manifest with a mental symptom, right? Maybe the symptom is not a physical problem or physical pain, but even though the symptoms are just mental, it does not mean that there is not a physiological component. Now, when it comes to the physiological or biological basis of conditions like that, there are so many different issues we could talk about. First and foremost, how healthy is your gut? How healthy is your stomach? If you suffer from problems like indigestion, heartburn, any kind of digestive tract issue, that can be a huge causative factor for things like depression and anxiety, because I think it's 80%. I think it's 80% of your hormones are actually produced inside of your digestive tract, inside of your stomach. Not necessarily your stomach, but there's like miles and miles of digestive tract, right? Digestive system. And actually that's where a large component, a large portion of our hormones are actually made. So if you have any kind of digestive issues, that could be a cause for anxiety, insomnia, depression, etc. We could also consider, what are your hormones made of? Your hormones are primarily made out of fats. So we could look at your diet and ask a simple question, which is what do I want to say here? How adequate is your consumption of healthy fats? So people on low fat or no fat diets typically can result in some kind of mental health symptom, simply because your brain is made out of fats, your nervous system is lined with fats, something called a myelin sheath. It's what actually conducts the electric signal to send messages from your body to your brain, and it's made out of fats. And again, your hormones also made out of fats. So simply supplementing healthy sources of fat into your diet can be another thing that can help with mental health type issues. Just to give you a third example, we could talk about vitamin D. Now, there are countless vitamins and minerals with specific, very important roles in our mental health. Vitamin D is just one of them, but there are many, many scientific studies that have been done on vitamin D and vitamin D deficiencies that not only correlate with a lot of health issues, but also correlate with a lot of mental issues. So if you're someone who lives in an area where you're not able to get a lot of sun exposure, maybe because there's not a lot of sun outside, maybe because it's just too cold for you to go outside with a significant amount of your skin exposed to the sun, consider supplementing vitamin D. And typically, some of the best supplements that I actually have used before, during the wintertime, I'll supplement vitamin D because I know I'm not getting enough sun exposure, is a liquid vitamin D3. Is a very good bioavailable one. Benevolent Nourishment makes a really great vitamin D3. But again, this is a really common vitamin that you're going to find in a lot of different places. We can talk about magnesium deficiency and how that correlates with stress, because calcium helps our muscles to contract and magnesium helps our muscles to relax. It's very important to have an appropriate balance of calcium and magnesium in the diet. And if we're magnesium deficient, which a lot of people are, this can be a huge factor in stress, insomnia, and all kinds of issues that kind of stem simply from the body's inability to fully relax. So really good question there. I'm sure that I spent more than 2 minutes on it already. So I'm trying to use a timer here, guys. Trying to use a timer. But really good question. Thank you for that. And again, we have tons of videos on this channel about nutritional support for mental health type conditions. There's an entire interview that I did with Dr. Colin Ross specifically about vitamin D alone. So lots of information there that I hope can be helpful to you. For some reason, it's bumping a lot of my questions. Usually I can scroll up and see questions all the way to the top, but I can't here. Somebody was asking about where are all of these different presenters. Please understand, guys, that we can't force people to make videos. A lot of times, if there is a presenter that is no longer making videos on our channel, it's because they either left town, which is what happened with Donnie. I don't know if y'all remember Donnie, but Donnie left town years ago. And so she's no longer able to make videos. A lot of people, honestly, they stop making YouTube videos because of the comments. And I try to run damage control and explain to people like, hey, YouTube has full of trolls. Like, don't take it personally. Look at how many good comments there are. But if you want to talk about Kristen Renee, basically it was inappropriate comments that made her stop wanting to make videos on our channel. So anyways, guys, I see people all the time asking, where's this person? Where's that person? Like I'm hiding them in a cave or something. That's not the deal. For the most part, if someone wants to make videos on our channel, we will make videos with them. So what you see is the people who are wanting to make videos, are able to make videos right now. We do our best to try and keep a good, variety of different presenters and bring back the people that we know everyone loves. We really do our best, I promise. Okay. Yeah, man, it's like, it's dumping so many of my questions. So Marshalline 717, wait, no, where is it? Oh yeah, she's talking about, that we should do more Pilates on the channel because not everybody wants to do yoga because it's so spiritual. But honestly, guys, if you watch our yoga videos, there are very few presenters that mention any kind of spiritual aspect of yoga at all. So maybe they'll talk about like centering your breath or bringing your hands to heart center. That's not spiritual, in my opinion. So even if you're kind of against yoga for the spiritual reasons, like I encourage you to please check out some of our videos because they're really good workouts. And I don't think I know of actually any presenter on our channel that makes it spiritual at all, for that matter. Grim Ace. Deodorants. It takes a lot of Febreze to neutralize me. I live in the South and it's humid. I have a man musk scent. Nothing seems to scrub it off. All your typical deodorants in your regular grocery store, guess what I'm gonna say? They're really bad for you. I'm sure you saw that coming. Aluminum is one of the primary ingredients that they use because it actually will kind of plug the pores and keep you from sweating. But that's really, really terrible for you. The whole reason that we sweat is to detox things. So if you're forcing sweat that would come out to stay inside of your body, this is really unhealthy for us. I know it's unpleasant to sweat. I live in Texas too, and I sweat a lot. I do. And I'm sure that if you guys have watched a lot of my videos, you notice sometimes I'm just like sweating buckets. So stay away from antiperspirants. Okay, you want to still perspire. Perspiring is a very important part of our bodies functioning properly. As far as reducing odor, there are some good natural deodorants out there. There's one called, it's like Mineral Rock something or other. That can help you like neutralize the smell. Another consideration is the fabrics of clothing you're wearing. I definitely find that if I'm wearing an unnatural fabric, I will smell way worse than I do if I'm wearing a more natural fabric like this. This is organic clothing by Synergy. I love this brand so much. And I love it because, you know, the more that you can wear 100% cotton, natural fibers, you should find that that is very helpful. Let's see, somebody was just telling me something. I mean, you know, even just like rubbing alcohol can be used to maybe like neutralize the smell if you want to. There's all kinds of little like deodorizing towelette kind of things that are made with these natural mineral deodorants, so to speak, that don't contain aluminum. That's the main thing you want to look for. And then avoiding fragrance, which is in everything. All right. And unfortunately, Febreze is really not good for you either. But I also know that it sucks to smell. So that's a hard call. But you should find as you start to move away from the unnatural fragrance and the antiperspirants, using things that are a bit more natural, that should help the smell to not be, you know, quite as intense. Invite the light. How can I better control my blood sugar levels? I recently had an A1C and the results were 5.8, so I'm starting to count my carbs and I'm struggling. Any tips or advice? So once again, this is a topic that I have discussed over and over and over on this channel. If you put in sugar cravings or diabetes or blood sugar as a search term on Psychetruth, you will find tons and tons of videos. But here is a just basic quick overhaul. Guys, this answer is also going to correspond to anyone who wants to lose weight, because one of the biggest factors causing us to gain weight is our consumption of refined carbohydrates and sugar. And it's because refined carbs and sugar cause a huge insulin spike or blood sugar spike. That's what they're testing for when they're trying to see if you're pre-diabetic or something like that. So, general rule of thumb, your processed foods and your processed carbs are going to be super, what they call high glycemic. That just means really spikes your blood sugar levels quickly. So those high glycemic foods are things like fruit roll-ups at the very top of the list. It's just pure sugar, right? Fruit roll-ups, white bread, potato chips, tortilla chips, and corn chips, all of those, you know, processed carb chip type things, especially if they're fried, now you're really adding insult to injury. But even the baked ones, okay, are still those refined carbohydrates that you really want to avoid, especially for someone that's, you know, basically in a pre-diabetic kind of condition. So all your processed carbs, white bread, things like that, even baked potatoes, unfortunately, are pretty high glycemic. All right, so a baked potato is going to be way, way, way healthier than white bread or tortillas or potato chips or something. But just know that if you're trying to really watch your blood sugar levels, you may even want to avoid potatoes. All right, because they are pretty high glycemic. As far as good, healthy alternatives that you can use to replace your pasta and your bread and things like that, brown rice is a great example. There's something called quinoa. It looks like quinoa. And actually this video that I'm going to be publishing next week, I show the quinoa in that video. I've shown that a lot of times before. Quinoa is a wonderful complex carb, and it's technically a seed. So it's actually gluten-free, which is another little added bonus around quinoa. But brown rice, quinoa, these would be good, complex carbs to use. Next rule of thumb, processed foods in general. Okay, so any kind of processed food is typically more likely to be high glycemic than a natural, unprocessed food. So what you want to be prioritizing in your diet is vegetables, salads, leafy greens. When you do have a sugar craving, satisfy that sugar craving with fruit, but not fruit juice. Make sure that you actually eat the apple or eat the banana. Eat the whole piece of fruit, because that fiber in the fruit helps to lower the glycemic index, lower the blood sugar spike. And that could be another tip in itself, which is that when you are going to eat carbs, eat them with a healthy source of fat or a healthy source of protein, and that will lower the glycemic effect of that meal that you're eating. Right? So for instance, if you're going to eat chocolate candy, eat it with nuts. Right? If you're going to eat some kind of carbohydrate, eat it with avocado, some healthy fat or healthy protein, right? I hate counting carbs. I hate counting calories. I've actually never even done it in my life. I hate it so much. I just won't even do it. If you just try to opt for minimally processed foods without an ingredient list, okay, low sources of refined carbohydrates, or just avoid them altogether. The more that you're eating those healthy fats and protein, and the more that you can compose a meal or a snack primarily from healthy fats and protein, you can have a very low effect on your blood sugar with anything that basically is free of carbs, so to speak. And again, just staying away from processed foods altogether would be a really good rule of thumb. Oh, you guys are all so sweet. Looking for questions real quickly. While I'm looking for questions, I just wanted to give a quick reminder. Guys, things on YouTube are getting hostile. If you've been watching the news, you may know that there are several huge advertisers that pulled their ads out of Google and YouTube completely. And we, the YouTube creators, saw the effects of that in our analytics this week. Literally, our income is like half of what it was last week. Even though our views on the channel are steadily going up, our income on YouTube is steadily going down. So we are now posting on Amazon. We will still be posting on the YouTube channel as well, so don't think that that's going to change. But you can go to Amazon Video and find dozens of videos up on Amazon that are not up on YouTube yet. And they will go up over the next couple months. But anyways, tons of awesome videos. Watch it without advertisements if you have Amazon Prime, which is like most people, I think. So please check us out on Amazon. Please leave us some positive reviews if you like the content you find there. And please leave a tip with your question. There is a little S, which I think is a $. It's hard hard to tell what it is. Would have been nice if they had made it a little bit more obvious what that is. But anyways, underneath the comment box, there's a little S. It's a little option for you to leave a tip in this live chat. And guys, I'm so, would be so appreciative of people who leave a tip that I will actually, push those questions up to the top. So if you want a guaranteed answer, leave a tip with your question. Looking for question marks. Insidious Joe says, so the Amazon Prime videos are there, any from the Patreon exclusives? No, the Patreon exclusives are Patreon exclusives, period. There are a couple of instances where we have taken premium programs that we are selling on VHX or on Amazon, and we'll give those to our patrons, just to kind of add value and show our appreciation. But those exclusive videos that we make on the Patreon page are just for patrons. So no, those are not up on the Amazon page. And just as a side note, guys, while I'm on the topic of Patreon, that is another wonderful way to help support our video production efforts. And now more than ever, we are actually kind of in danger of not being able to produce as many videos as we've been producing the last couple years. So would really appreciate your support. Leaving reviews on Amazon, which doesn't cost you anything if you have Amazon Prime. You can go leave us some reviews on our videos, and that's awesome. And there's a huge truck backing up right here. I really hope it doesn't hit this building. We are about to find out. It is so close. That is horrifying. All right. Try not to be distracted. So leaving us reviews on Amazon, leaving a tip with your question, or check out our Patreon page. It's linked at the very top of every video description that we do. Did y'all hear me gurgle? Y'all maybe didn't hear it because a thing. But it's not a burp or whatever. You know how like sometimes you just open your mouth and it's like, it's just a little gurgly noise right here. Anyways, it just happened to me. I don't know if y'all heard it or not. Okay, Elizabeth Leon, is intermittent fasting safe for women? Do you recommend it? So I'm going to go ahead and do this question because it kind of dovetails with what we were talking about a little while ago. Someone was asking about fasting for something like 28 days, which I think is way too long of a fast. But intermittent fasting is kind of a hot topic right now, so I do want to discuss it. Basically, the idea behind intermittent fasting is just that you allow your insulin levels, your blood sugar levels, to get down to 0 rather than constantly being spiked all day. So we can kind of compare and contrast with the recommendation that's become popular in the last few years, which is to eat 6 small meals throughout the day. Which I never really recommended, except for people who can't resist snacking, who can't go long periods of time without eating. And here's why. As long as you have sugar in your bloodstream, so anytime you eat anything, all right, every time you have sugar in your bloodstream, your body releases insulin. Insulin, and I used this little analogy last week. I'm going to use it again. Insulin is known as the fat storage hormone. And the way that you should think about it as like it's the Uber for sugar in your body, right? So you eat sugar, and then your body calls an Uber and is like, hey, can you come carry this sugar around? Get rid of this sugar for me. So your little insulin comes through, right? It picks up the sugar, and then it carries around to the rest of your body. The reason that it's known as the fat storage hormone is that eventually your cells throughout your body will stop letting the Uber park and unload. They'll be like, hey, we're at our max level of sugar intake right now. Just keep on driving. Keep on going. We can't use that sugar. And then at that point, insulin has to store that sugar as fat. So as long as you have insulin in your bloodstream, you are storing fat. And your body can't burn fat and store fat at the same time. All right? So the whole idea with intermittent fasting is we want to prolong the periods of time where there's no insulin in our bloodstream. So typically this is what happens while we're sleeping, right? For most of us, the longest period of time we go without eating is while we are asleep. And this is one of the reasons that the body actually burns fat while we sleep. Because your body doesn't start burning fat until your insulin level has been low for a long enough period of time. Now, it takes several hours for your body to fully metabolize all the sugar in your bloodstream and actually let your insulin drop to zero. Recently, I was listening to a Mercola lecture, and I think he said that it takes 8 hours for it to do that. So basically what that means is that if you sleep all night and then wake up in the morning and eat something, then you've already kind of stopped your body from burning fat. So one of the, what I feel is maybe like a good place to start with intermittent fasting would be to aim to, if there's 24 hours in a day, you're going to fast for 16 hours and only eat for an 8-hour period during the day, as opposed to fasting for 8 hours while you sleep and then eating over the course of 16 hours, which is what most of us do. Or 12 hours or whatever. So the recommendation is basically that you stop eating at least 3 hours before bedtime, you sleep through the night, and then you skip breakfast. And then when you eat your lunch, basically your lunch and your dinner are your 2 main meals of the day. So now you're actually fasting through most of the day rather than eating through most of the day. But I would just encourage you guys to ease your way up. Like, you're probably not going to, it's not going to be very easy on your very first day to go 16 hours without eating. So maybe you just start with like going 10 hours, then going 12, etc. And, there are other types of intermittent fasting, like 2 days of eating, or 2 days of fasting, 5 days of eating, or alternating a day of fasting, day of eating. I personally feel like the body is already going to be kind of stressed out by this intermittent eating fasting thing. So it's going to be probably easier for your body to adjust to a daily schedule rather than fast 2 days, eat 5 days, something like that, where you're constantly shocking your system. Trying to kind of get on a schedule where, maybe each day you fast until 2 p.m. or you fast until, noon or 1 p.m., depending on what time you wake up. Very kind of crazy though, right? Because we typically think of breakfast as the most important meal of the day. But intermittent fasting is kind of taking a different approach. Kind of where they came up with it was looking at, historically, how were our ancestors eating? Because our ancestors didn't have grocery stores on every corner and fast food restaurants on every corner. So typically they would probably wake up in the morning and they wouldn't have food there. They would actually have to go a couple hours and then go out hunting and gathering. Then they would find a lot of food, eat a huge amount of food, and then it might be 12 or 24 hours before they got to eat again, before they found food again. From the perspective of insulin and prolonging the periods of time where you have zero insulin in the bloodstream, this is, again, makes perfect sense. Because if you're eating all day or snacking all day, you've constantly got your insulin levels elevated, you're always going to be storing fat and you're not going to be burning fat. So just be gentle. Ease into whatever you do. Don't be like, I'm going to do a 10-day fast. That's going to shock your system and it's not going to help you. So ease into whatever you're doing. I think I'm going to do a whole video on intermittent fasting because there is a lot of stuff to be said about it, honestly. What's a good diet for pregnant men? Is turmeric good if you have bad digestion? Legacy vibes. Turmeric is good for pretty much freaking everything. Turmeric is highly anti-inflammatory. So any kind of inflammatory condition like colitis, dermatitis, somebody just asked about, is going to be benefited by turmeric. It's also got a lot of antioxidant capacity as well. So someone's asking if it's good for digestion. I would say turmeric is pretty much good for everything. And certainly when we're talking about digestive issues, inflammation in the digestive tract is usually kind of one of the big factors. So yes, a strong anti-inflammatory like turmeric should definitely have good effects on improving digestive health. Grim Ace, do you like cats? I feel like they help with everything. They're like kids. Yes, I love cats. I love cats and I love dogs. I love pets. I love animals. Emily Mackle. Can you recommend a good general multivitamin for every day? I've just been taking the adult gummy multis from Costco. Man, it's so funny because what should just be like a super short little answer. Unfortunately, I'm gonna set my timer here because. All right, so let's talk about multivitamins. Not all vitamins are created equal. Period. When you are buying the store brand vitamins, or unfortunately, bless your heart, the Costco vitamins, what you're taking more than likely are synthetic vitamins. So every vitamin, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, it's just a chemical structure, just like anything else in the world, right? And the difference between a food-based multivitamin and your typical store-bought multivitamin is whether that vitamin is taken from a food like a banana or an apple or a pear, or whether that vitamin is created synthetically in a lab. And depending on whether it's from a food or whether it's synthetically created, that's going to have a big effect on how effective is that vitamin, how much what they call bioavailability. That just means how easily can your body actually absorb the vitamin and then use it. So there is, bless my heart, I can't remember the name of the brand. I can see the bottle in my head. But anyways, if you check out the video I did called How to Not Get Sick, I showed the brand in there. Basically, it's something that I ordered off of iherb.com. And you know what you're looking for when you're trying to find a good multivitamin is that when you turn it over and you look at the back, it should list a bunch of foods. Like, hey, we got all these vitamins from broccoli and brown rice and peas and pomegranates or whatever, right? So the idea is that it's food-based. You know that those vitamins and minerals and whatever other good stuff it contains, it was actually derived from a food rather than synthetically made in a lab. Again, I feel really bad that I cannot recall the brand name off the top of my head, but I know I've shown that in a couple videos. And if you put in iHerb on the channel, that video will come up. Also, How to Not Get Sick, I think is the name of the video. You know, multi is a good thing to always look for, right? You want to have a wide variety of different vitamins and minerals being accounted for. If you know of a specific condition or specific deficiency you have, it can be beneficial to, you know, supplement that specific thing. But a just general multi-mineral, multivitamin can be a very effective thing to just take on a daily basis, just to kind of cover your bases, for lack of a better term. Wow, actually was perfect timing. Yay! Alrighty. Moving right along here. Hello to YICD from Turkey in Istanbul. Pretty far from Texas. But thank you so much for coming into my chat. Let me know if you have a question. Aurora Whispers. One of my fellow ASM artists. Hello, Aurora. Trying to lose weight. What foods are good for sugar fix, except for fruit? I hate the texture of most fruit, but I like the taste. Oh my gosh, bless your heart. Okay, so one thought would be, have you ever considered making smoothies? Because if you actually took some bananas and strawberries and blueberries and put them in a blender with something like almond milk, or sometimes I'll actually blend up cashews or almonds and use that as the base in my smoothie. But anyways, if it's the texture of the fruit you don't like, I would definitely encourage you to consider making smoothies. Unfortunately, if you just drink the juice, then you aren't getting the fiber. And the fiber is really important when you're eating the fruit, because otherwise it is just a lot of pure sugar. But when you eat the whole piece of fruit itself, you get all this fiber, all these nutrients, antioxidants. There's so much nutrient capacity that it kind of makes the sugar okay, so to speak. So whatever it takes for you to eat the whole fruit, maybe chopping it up and adding it to yogurt or something like that, or making it in a smoothie. Other good ways to satisfy a sugar tooth. Cinnamon is excellent, partly because cinnamon actually helps to normalize blood sugar metabolism, but also just the taste of cinnamon can sometimes satisfy a sweet tooth, even though it's not actually sugar in itself. So adding cinnamon to another food that you're eating, or sprinkling cinnamon over a piece of fruit, can be really good. Dates are a really good natural source of sweetness. So you could use dates to sweeten the things that you're eating, or if you want to just eat the dates themselves. It's a lot of sugar if you just have it alone, but if you were to eat dates in conjunction with a bunch of nuts or something like that, could be a healthy way to satisfy a sweet tooth. Things like carrots, just like steamed carrots sprinkled over with cinnamon and butter, is something that will satisfy my sweet tooth. Sweet potatoes, all of those kind of sweet vegetables, complex carbohydrates, can be really, really good for helping to reduce the amount of sugar cravings you have, because you're just giving your body some of those complex carbs that it's craving, but in a much healthier form. All right, Sunny. Oh, wait. Okay, so someone left a tip. Yay, I saw it. And then they freaking, where'd they do with it? It's kind of frustrating, this super chat thing. Here we go. Insidious Joe. Here it is. Insidious Joe, thank you so much for your tip. Let me go ahead and expedite your question. Joe says, longtime sub, love the content, Corrina. What are your thoughts on apple cider vinegar and Garcinia cambogia mix? I've been seeing it a lot lately. So apple cider vinegar, I love. Apple cider vinegar is very supportive for the liver, interestingly, which is a very important thing to support. Typically, the liver is a very overworked and unappreciated organ. Apple cider vinegar also is wonderful for helping to kind of restore the acidic environment of the stomach and digestive tract. The stomach needs to be very acidic in order to digest and neutralize our food. So apple cider vinegar, awesome, huge fan. I have not done a lot of research on the Garcinia cambogia stuff. I see it everywhere. My gut feeling is like, oh, here's another one of those like random superfoods or random things that they find. Somebody somewhere did a couple of studies, and now it's being promoted as this kind of miracle supplement or something like that. But I'm just going to be honest with y'all. This is not something I've really looked into. My kind of, I guess, approach in the area of nutrition is, you know, there's so many things that are constantly coming up and so many fads. I'll kind of let things stand up to the test of time, so to speak. Once something has been around for a while, then I may go ahead and look into it. Maybe now, as a result of your question, I'm probably going to look into the Garcinia cambogia. But it's not really something that I've looked into at this point. So I feel really bad. I can't actually give you a very good answer to your question. I'm a huge fan of apple cider vinegar. Definitely a wonderful thing. You can either take it in caplets, or you can just add a little apple cider vinegar to a glass of water at whatever dilution you can stomach. Right? It's pretty strong stuff. So maybe you just start out with a little tiny bit in your water. Or like I said, take the little caplets if you don't like the taste at all. I cannot speak to the Garcinia cambogia, unfortunately. Like I said, my gut feeling is, oh, hey, another one of these things. With a lot of these different supplements and little superfoods and all kind of this stuff, there's just so many of them. It's almost impossible to keep track of all of them. I find that myself, I just find that it is easier to always opt for things that are easy to find, easy to get to, not too expensive. Eating natural foods, eating vegetables and fruits and salads. I know it sounds silly, but you can spend a lot of money on some of these unique superfoods and supplements and stuff like that. And I think that largely we can have so much benefit just by eating healthier natural foods, that I tend to prefer to save my money and spend it on groceries and foods and things I can really eat that are healthy, rather than spending a lot of money on, supplements and things like that. So thank you so much, Insidious Joe, for your question. I'm scrolling back up looking for more questions. While I'm scrolling, I just want to quickly remind you guys, if you leave a tip with your question, it will get bumped up to the top of the chat and will be answered ASAP. Also, please consider going to our Amazon page. If you just put in Psychetruth on Amazon, you'll find tons of videos. There's actually tons of stuff that's been posted on Amazon that is not up on YouTube yet. And it's actually much higher quality. The rendering quality of the videos that Amazon requires is actually way higher than YouTube. They're also all closed captioned, which is nice. So I feel really bad. This question comes from someone, it looks like your name is written in Arabic, which I do not read, unfortunately. So I'm sorry I cannot read your name, but the question says, I'm 22 years old. I want to start to do yoga. What do you think? Is it a good idea because of my age? I would say that any age is an excellent age to start doing yoga. They literally have like little kid and baby yoga, not the thing where they throw the babies. I don't think that looks very safe. But in terms of just stretching and moving and, there's all kinds of yoga. And I think it's great for people of literally any age. I think any age would be a good time to start doing yoga. Especially in your 20s, you're really at a perfect time to start, creating a good, healthy fitness habit. Finding something that keeps you moving, keeps you flexible. When we're teenagers, we typically have a lot more flexibility and a lot more mobility. And then as we age, that just starts to diminish unless we have some kind of consistent stretching and movement routine that helps us retain our level of flexibility and mobility that we have in our youth. So I would actually say 22 is a perfect age to start doing yoga, if not even sooner. Thank you so much for all of your sweet comments. Bubble Dust ASMR. Hello, another fellow ASM artist. Thank you so much for coming to my chat. Bubble Dust says, what is an affordable way to eat healthy? Because sometimes the healthy foods are so expensive. And oh my gosh, I am right there with you 100%. Couple of rules of thumb that hopefully will help in this area. If you can find a farmer's market or an actual farmer that you can buy vegetables from or even do a work trade with. There's a farmer's market here in Austin. I guess the farm is called Johnson's Backyard Garden. But basically you can go and work on the farm for a couple of hours a week and they will send you home with a huge bag of vegetables. Generally more than the person can even eat. I have friends who work at Johnson's and they're like, hey, do you need some kale? Do you need some this? Let me give you some of these vegetables. So whether you're actually shopping at a farmer's market or shopping directly from the farmer, that is one of the best, most affordable ways to eat super healthy. Another thing, if you are shopping at a grocery store, which is most of us, if you can't find a farmer to get your food from directly, if you're shopping at a grocery store, take advantage of the bulk department. So that's the section with just tons of, little canisters or whatever. And then you can either bring like glass jars from home or you can just fill up plastic bags. But that's a great place to buy things like your beans, rice. Typically there'll be nuts, maybe trail mix, oatmeal. There's, and depending on your grocery store, there are some that just have row after row of bulk bins. But when you buy in bulk, you're cutting out some of the middlemen. So you still have the grocery store, obviously. But just understand that whenever you're buying, kind of pre-made foods or packaged foods, you're paying, part of what you're paying for is the box and the design on the box and the plastic that the things are wrapped in. All right. The packaging and the marketing and all of that goes into making Easy Mac or Rice-A-Roni or, any of those kind of ready-made foods, convenient type foods. You're, part of what you're paying for is that packaging. So if you can shop in the bulk department, you will actually save a lot of money because then you're just paying for the rice or the beans or whatever. And I typically, find that like a huge bag of brown rice or quinoa or something is just a couple dollars compared to if you buy it in the package, it's, 2 to 3 times as expensive. So kind of along the same lines, preparing your own foods, understand that the more that we live in this kind of convenience-based society where we like for things to be just add water or pre-made or pre-packaged frozen meals, part of what you're paying for is that preparation. So if you're actually cooking and preparing your meals at home, that's going to be way more cost effective than if you went out and bought the little TV dinner or bought the little kind of pre-made meal, just add water. It's also going to be way healthier if you cook it at home as well. Another good thing to consider is, when you cook in bulk, so to speak. So whether you make like a big casserole and then maybe freeze some of the servings, in little containers or something like that. And then you've actually kind of made your own pre-made meal or your own frozen dinner. And then you can pull that out and heat that up whenever you want it. But you'll find that it's actually pretty cheap to make a big, veggie casserole or something like that. And then if you can eat off of that meal for several weeks, get several meals out of that one cooking episode, that one, time in the kitchen, that can be really time and money effective for us. Nell May, does apple cider vinegar work? To do what? That's a weird question. All right, looking for question marks. I can't even tell some of these questions if they're even like real or not. I don't even know. Okay, here's a lot of question marks. Legacy vibes. I've been dealing with 2 herniated discs at L5 and S1. Do you have any exercises on Amazon? What foods should be avoided and what should I consume so that I can heal? Herniated discs. Honestly, I don't know if anyone has done a video specifically on herniated discs at L5 and S1. I do know that Dr. Eccles has done some chiropractic style videos talking about herniated discs. That is that is like a very specific issue and a very delicate issue. I really can't just recommend something to you without knowing anything about you in a live chat. So I would encourage you to either work with a chiropractor, a physical therapist, or a yoga teacher and actually work one-on-one with them so that they can create something that's really specific to you and designed for you and your body and what you're experiencing. Because even saying herniated discs at L5 and S1, there's still all kinds of little personal issues about your body that would be really important for someone to actually make recommendations, that could help you and avoid making your condition worse. Alrighty, so Vicky Q has Vicky K? Vicky Q. I don't know how you say your name. I apologize. But thank you so much for your tip. I'm going to go ahead and expedite your question here. What is your opinion on chlorophyll? I drink it every few days. Can it be considered a replacement for anything? All right, so chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is what makes plants green. Maybe you remember that from biology class, circa whenever the heck that was. It also is, the reason that it has health benefits for us, not because it's going to make us green, because it is it's kind of considered an oxygenator. It increases oxygen capacity. So oxygen is what we live on, right? So the whole idea of taking chlorophyll is that we actually are increasing the amount of oxygen within our bodies, within our diet. And there's other health benefits also associated with chlorophyll, as you might suspect. As far as it being considered a replacement for something, let me think about that for 1 second while I hydrate. So unfortunately, I really don't think that you could consider it a replacement for any type of food. So when you eat green vegetables, when you eat, green plants, green vegetables, you do get some chlorophyll, and that's really beneficial. But just taking the chlorophyll on its own is really not a replacement for eating vegetables, because it really does not contain anywhere near the amount of benefit that you'll get when you actually eat a salad, eat some spinach or something like that. We could talk about the fiber, all the different enzymes and minerals, vitamins, things like that. So chlorophyll, super healthy, wonderful habit to have. Chlorophyll is awesome. You can buy it in like a tincture form and add it to your water. It makes your water super green, but it doesn't really taste very strongly, typically. Which is nice. So even though it looks like you're drinking something crazy, it doesn't actually have a whole lot of flavor. Sadly, I don't think it could really be considered a replacement for anything, but it's definitely a super healthy thing to be, to be adding into your diet. Hippopotamus. I have a really fun time pronouncing words in really weird ways, like potato chip, hippopotamus. All right, so hippopotamus. This isn't a question. It just says insulin, glucagon, homeostasis. Very random thing. Glucagon is one of the hormones that helps to signify satiety or fullness, being satiated. Glucagon is generally released when we eat protein, whereas insulin is released when we eat sugar. Not quite that simple. That's kind of an overgeneralization, but having a homeostasis or a balance of insulin and glucagon is definitely an important thing. So I'm not exactly sure the context of your statement here. Perhaps it's part of a conversation that I'm not following above it. But yeah, having a balance of sugar and protein and healthy fats in our, in our diet is really, really key. Stevie Craig, isn't occasional fasting healthy? And then someone else shortly above that was mentioning, I do yoga in the morning. So that's kind of like intermittent fasting, right? Because you're not eating breakfast. So yes, fasting periodically is good for us in the sense that our blood sugar blood sugar level is able to drop to 0, and our insulin levels are able to drop. And remember, insulin is the fat storage hormone. It's like the Uber that transports sugar throughout the body, and then when the body no longer wants to accept more sugar, it stores it as fat. And then it puts it on your hips or your thighs or wherever you least want it to be, right? That's what the body does. Stick the fat where you least want it. So fasting is really the only way for our insulin levels to fall. And I just think it's very important to kind of, put it in context, so to speak. So fasting for extremely long periods of time not only is super uncomfortable and hard to do, but it's not good for you. All right, fasting for really long periods of time. Now, there are people out there who, will do 3-day fasts and 5-day fasts, and then maybe they'll do a 10-day fast and then work their way up to fasting for something like 20 or 30 days. I personally don't really think that's healthy. I think that's too long to fast. I think sometimes these like really prolonged fasts, it just becomes this like mind over matter thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy for you just because you can mind over matter and force yourself to not eat for a long period of time. So if you are going to experiment with intermittent fasting or, fasting for small periods of time, my recommendation, like I said a little bit earlier, is doing something that's as close to you can get as being on kind of the same schedule each day, within reason. I understand it's not always going to be the exact same times, but aiming to only eat over the course of an 8-hour period and fast for the other 16 hours of the day. So 8 of those fasting hours are spent sleeping, and then you skip breakfast, fast for basically as long as you can until the afternoon or whenever it is that you eat lunch. And then once you start eating, right, you're going to count 8 hours. And they say you can eat as much as you want during those 8 hours. I would take that with a grain of salt, especially if you're actually just trying to lose weight. But eat a good amount during those 8 hours, eat a lunch, eat a dinner, eat really healthy, and then make sure that you are fasting at least 3 hours before bedtime. So don't eat for 3 hours before you go to sleep, kind of a thing. And just ease your way in, build your way up. Especially if you're someone who's typically used to eating breakfast every morning, maybe you start by just, trying to go an extra hour before you have breakfast. And then maybe an extra 2 hours before you have breakfast, etc. I've kind of been doing my own form of intermittent fasting kind of unintentionally for the last couple of years because I often skip breakfast. Especially during the week when I'm at work. It's pretty typical that I'll skip breakfast and really just eat a lunch and dinner. And that's worked pretty well for me. And then I really do try to avoid snacking throughout the day, especially snacking on sugar, on sodas, things like that. That is like the worst thing you can do in terms of your blood sugar levels and losing weight. Corrina 456 is asking about migraines. I get 5 to 6 migraines a month since I was 13 and I'm 25 now. Any advice? Oh my God, Corrina, I am so sorry that you are having so many migraines. I had never had a migraine in my life until about 2 years ago. And now I ebb and flow between like 1 to 2 migraines a month. Sometimes I can go a couple months without any migraines. It is really, really hard to know what to do for migraines. It is one of those things that the mainstream medical establishment has no idea. There are some different migraine drugs out there, but I really don't think that any of those are actually going to resolve the real problem and get to the bottom of it. So I would encourage you to keep some kind of a little food journal or food diary, and just kind of general like lifestyle diary. Because what I tend to find is that when I put my body under a lot of stress, either not getting enough sleep, drinking too much coffee, such as when I shoot ASMR videos, I tend to drink a lot of coffee to keep me awake all day so that I can start filming at 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. Not enough sleep, too much stress. 2 weeks ago, I got a migraine, and I think it was because I kind of gave myself a heat stroke a little bit. It was like outside in the sun, running around and sweating, and I think it was just too much. And then that night, I had a terrible, terrible migraine. It was awful. So you can start to kind of pay attention to those things and just start to see, are there things in your life or in your diet that tend to trigger them? And keeping it in a little journal is really helpful because it's hard to just remember. It's hard to keep track. Plus, you never know when you're going to get the migraine. But if you can start keeping a little journal, then maybe you'll start to notice, are there things that trigger it? Like drinking lots of coffee or eating lots of sugar or being under lots of stress. Also consider, what things might have happened around the age of 13 when you started getting migraines. So for instance, maybe you got your period at that time. Maybe they're based, maybe they're around your hormones or hormone issues. If you're taking any kind of birth control or something like that, that's something to consider. Consider seeing a chiropractor. A lot of the kind of, so there's the physical, skeletal issues, all right? Then there's also a lot of muscular issues as well, having to do with our cervical vertebra. That's like the vertebrae in your neck. A lot of that can be a potential cause of migraines. So there could actually be just a simple chiropractic adjustment that could help to resolve that underlying cause or that underlying issue that's bringing the migraines on. If nothing else, a chiropractor, especially someone like Dr. Eccles. Dr. Eccles is amazing. He's an applied kinesiologist. And basically applied kinesiology is all about looking at the spine and looking at the central nervous system and kind of being able to diagnose what is going on inside of the body when the symptoms are sometimes confusing, right? Like you think migraines, you're thinking maybe the problem is in the neck or in the head, but there could actually be a spinal issue in your low back, a subluxation of vertebra in the low back that's somehow causing the migraines. So applied kinesiology is something to look for if you have someone. You can put in applied kinesiologist in your zip code and see if there's someone near you who does that, or fly to Texas and see Dr. Eccles. He's incredible. Anyways, so Corrina, I really hope that helps you. Migraines are the worst thing in the world. So I really hope that you're able to find something that can help you out with that. Stevie Craig, Corrina, are liver and kidney cleanses healthy for humans? Yes, definitely. Liver and kidneys are, two of the most overworked and underappreciated organs in the human body. So, we know that our liver is a very important detox organ. Typically, we associate the liver with alcohol, right? And we're like, oh, people who drink lots of alcohol get liver disease. But understand that alcohol isn't the only thing that's bad for your liver. We can talk about processed foods. We can talk about sugar. We can talk about caffeine. All of these things that are in the typical American diet, unfortunately, are really, really terrible for our liver. So liver cleansing is a really good idea, I would say, for virtually everyone. Especially if you're struggling with belly fat, I would encourage you to try out a liver cleanse. You know, and then just in general, weight loss, doing some kind of liver cleanse can be very effective. The kidneys, also an important detox organ. I can't remember the exact number, but it's something like 50 liters of blood a day that your kidneys are filtering. It's kind of insane. One thing people don't realize is that protein, too much protein can be really stressful on the kidneys. So if you're someone who eats meat on a really regular basis, you eat a lot of meat, you eat a lot of steaks, stuff like that, doing a kidney cleanse is a really, really good idea. Because a lot of people don't realize that, you know, our kidneys, yes, they suffer from dehydration. They suffer from not drinking enough water, but they also suffer from too much protein, which again is kind of a big part of the average diet. There's a company called the Global Healing Center, and I did a video on their liver cleanse. I actually did their liver cleanse a few months ago. They also have kidney cleanses and all kinds of different stuff as well. So Global Healing Center would be my recommendation if you actually want to try doing a liver cleanse or something of that type. Also know that you can do great things just to support your liver without doing an actual cleanse. Things like eating lots of leafy green vegetables, broccoli, beets, apple cider vinegar, olive oil, avocados. These are excellent, excellent things to support your liver. Also, watermelon is excellent support for your liver because it contains glutathione. So just incorporating more of those liver supporting foods in your diet can be another way to help it gently cleanse without doing a formal liver cleanse and restricting your diet. Alrighty guys, so it is approaching the end of this live chat, but I want to thank all of you for coming. I'm going to probably try to get to one more question here. But I do want to just remind you guys to please, 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 pretty please with sugar on top, go check out Psychetruth on Amazon Video. And if you have Amazon Prime, this is awesome because you can watch tons of videos with no ads. There's also lots of ASMR videos that we've put up on Amazon. So I know there's some ASMR fans here in the room. And please consider leaving a tip. The recent advertiser issues going on with YouTube have significantly affected our income levels. So even though our views are consistently going up, our income is doing this, and we are just honestly bewildered. We're really obviously not very happy with YouTube right now. So help us survive, help us stay alive, help us keep making videos, because this is maybe the first time since I've been working for Psychetruth where our business is actually kind of in danger, in like super danger zone. So just leaving us a review on our Amazon videos would be so greatly helpful. Joining our Patreon page or leaving a tip on this live chat also would be so greatly appreciated. BizOp69, I can't believe that you didn't get blocked in this frickin' chat. You are a troll to end all trolls. Good job. Hope you feel good about yourself. Christine Kim, how much activity do teens need? How much physical activity do teens need? I would say, honestly, you know, it's hard to kind of give like a specific like number of hours or something like that. A general rule of thumb is that you should be getting some kind of physical movement, whether it's just doing stretches, whether it's walking around the block, or actually doing like a formal workout video or something like that. 30 minutes a day is a good minimum. And if you can't hit 30 minutes, whatever you can hit, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, literally anything is better than nothing. 30 minutes is a good minimum to aim for. An hour a day is probably ideal, especially if you want to actually be losing weight as opposed to just maintaining your health and stuff like that. And I would just encourage you to, be creative, looking for ways to get that physical activity. It doesn't have to be going to a gym or going and running track for 3 hours. Playing games, playing sports, especially if you're a teenager, you probably, have some kind of sports team or something like that you could maybe join. But something that's fun and social and gets you moving and gets you active is a really, really great thing to, aim for. And, in your teenage years, that's a great time to start creating a good, healthy fitness habit. And again, it doesn't always have to be a super strenuous, crazy workout. It's just got to be some kind of movement. Walking, stretching, swimming, but physical exercise is super important. Definitely when we're, kids and teenagers, we have even more energy than you'll have as when you were an adult. So it's a great time to burn off some of that energy and start building strength and start creating a healthy fitness habit. So Marshalene717 says, so does that mean Psychetruth could be deleted? Psychetruth will probably not ever be deleted. We wouldn't actually delete the channel. Now YouTube are kind of jerks. I hope they don't ever delete our channel. I don't think we've done anything to deserve being deleted. But it does mean that we are kind of, putting more of our efforts into Amazon, because Amazon, we've been on Amazon for 3 months. Each month that we've been on Amazon, not only are we generating some money from the, video views, they actually pay you per watch minute, just like YouTube does, except YouTube is based on advertisements. And that's why all those advertisers pulling out their money from YouTube has had such a drastic effect on all of the YouTube creators. But Amazon, because it's just coming from the subscription basis from Prime, they're able to pay way more per view than YouTube is. And they're also giving us bonuses each month. Not only are they paying us more per view, but then they're actually saying, hey, we're really grateful for all of this wonderful content that you're putting up and we want to reward you for that. It's a complete opposite of what YouTube is doing, where YouTube is hey, your views are higher than ever, but we're going to cut your income in half. It's cruel. So Psychetruth will always be here. We don't have any intention of ever stopping posting videos here or anything like that, but we're posting way more videos on Amazon. Literally, there's probably 60 or 70 videos up on Amazon that just aren't up on the YouTube channel yet. And they will get posted over the coming months, but you can find tons and tons of content on Amazon that's not going to be up on YouTube for weeks or months. For that matter. So if you have Amazon Prime, check them out. They're even higher. They're rendered at a much higher quality than the YouTube videos. You can stream them on your TV. You can use the Amazon app to stream them on your phone or your iPad or something like that. So it's super cool. Leave us some reviews. Doesn't cost you a penny to leave us some nice reviews on our Amazon videos. So yes, I hope that answers your question, Marshalene. We love YouTube. We love this channel. I freaking love doing these live chats and, helping you guys out. So we have no intentions of ever ending the channel or stopping making videos or anything like that. I just want to be really honest with you guys about where we're at with YouTube and why we would be so uber grateful for you to go check us out on Amazon. Philip S., WTF is YouTube doing? So YouTube recently lost tons of its advertisers. So Johnson & Johnson, McDonald's, Verizon, and there's a ton of other companies completely pulled their money out of Google, AdSense, and YouTube because they don't want to be advertised next to, you know, videos that might be advertiser unfriendly is what they're calling it. And they've actually demonetized over 200 of our videos in the last few months. And YouTube stopped sending us emails to tell us that they've demonetized videos. So we only know because we saw some other guy's channel who was saying, hey, YouTube demonetized all these videos and didn't tell me. And then we went and looked, and we found that they've demonetized over 200 of our videos. So between that and them losing a bunch of their major advertisers, YouTube is becoming a very hostile environment towards YouTube creators. And I know that we are not the only channel experiencing that. If you watch a lot of other YouTubers, I suspect that they will be, you know, maybe letting you know the same thing. Because that's no joke, man. Like, we've had this channel for almost 10 years. And the business just keeps growing, and we're able to hire more people. We're able to make more videos. And now all of a sudden, despite our views continuing to climb, YouTube is basically giving us a giant middle finger. So thanks, but no thanks, YouTube. And I would feel bad about, you know, talking badly about YouTube, but they are literally screwing us. So, you know, anyways, so anyhow, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this chat because I have a lot of items waiting for me at my desk when I get back over to work. I am about to post a Sanella yoga video that I'm very, very excited to share with you guys. So if you will please come back, check out the channel in, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. Hopefully I'm able to get it up and ready very quickly. Go check out Sanella's new video. She is really excited about this video for you guys too. And how could I forget to sing my own theme song? What's going on? What's going on, Corrina? You've almost forgot about your own theme song? What? It was time for live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on your YouTube machine. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. All right, I'm having way too much fun for my own good, apparently. Thank you so much for being here. Many thanks to Insidious Joe and to Vicky for your tips today. Please check us out on Amazon. Please check us out on Patreon. That's not written up there, but it, you know, maybe next week it will be. Thank you so much, guys. We really, really appreciate your support. I appreciate you coming here and leaving your questions, all your kind comments. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys again next week.